So good to be seen, and it's even better to see you. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the lovely The Vegan Lives interview, which is a series of interviews I am doing on behalf of basically the entire community. I love interviews, and I think it's one of my strong suits, which is why I am putting it to good use in the sense that I am interviewing activists from the entire planet in hopes of educating as well as entertaining you as far as everything vegan related, asking tough questions as well as fun questions. And I am happy to inform that today is a day I've been looking forward to, admittedly, for a very long time. I am sitting down with the lovely and talented Amy Soranno. She's going to be joining us here momentarily all the way from Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. She is 3 hours, I think, ahead of me, if I'm not mistaken. And so she's going to be joining here in a little bit to discuss some very important talking points. These are going to be very insightful questions. Amy is a very talented and well-renowned activist in her own right, and she has cordially have accepted my invitation as a guest on today's episode. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring her in. Just going to go ahead and wait for her request. If you can, I think that she is already in here somewhere. So I'm just going to wait until she pops up. There she is. Okay. So I'm going to bring Amy in, and this should be a very, very, very fun episode, one to which I have been looking forward to ever since I got the okay from Amy. So just waiting on Amy to join here in a minute. And
hello.
There she is.
Hi.
We are in the presence of activist greatness. How are you, Amy?
Oh. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, you can hear me, see me.
Yep, you are good to go. Yep, I'll have you know that ever since I sat down with our buddy Hudson from California, I am going to go ahead and record these for future reference. So in case you guys don't know, Instagram does allow for 60 minutes of an interview, but we can always go ahead and dive right in if we need more time. So Amy, I think that on behalf of the entire community, I have so much to be thankful for having you join the series. I was just telling our viewers that this is a sort of a reinvention of content creation, in the sense that we are obviously not going anywhere for quite some time, and I am hoping that stays true for the foreseeable future. Anyway, again, thank you so much for being so kind with your time and donating an hour or so of your time to this community, to this cause. Hopefully we can go ahead and entertain, but more importantly, educate our masses into everything related to veganism. So without further ado, I want to get some blood flow going to that brain. So I have prepared 20 questions, sort of like 20 questions to get to know you on a personal level, sort of break the ice, perhaps, if you will. And then we are going to go ahead and dive right into it, okay? So without further ado, we're going to play a little game, 20 questions. And I would love for you to go ahead and answer sort of like rapid fire so that we can get a sense of who you truly are. You ready?
I'm nervous. I'll try my best.
Okay. First question. When I dance, I look like...
Probably silly, but I'll be having fun.
Okay, great. What is the thing that you are most afraid of?
A non-vegan world and living an unfulfilled life.
Good answer. What is your lifelong dream?
To eliminate animal exploitation.
I like it. What TV sitcom family would you be a member of?
I don't know. Probably none of them. I don't know.
No? Okay. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
If you were stranded on a tropical island, what two things would you want with you?
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, probably something for survival. I would hope that I have access to, like, drinking water and edible plants. I don't know.
That makes perfect sense considering this community, yes. What
Yeah.
compliment do people give you the most?
Probably my courage.
Okay, I can definitely see that. What fashion trend do you just not get?
I would say I'm pretty artistic, so I kind of get them all, because if that's what you're feeling and that's how you feel that you're expressing yourself, then like all the power to you. I think if anything, something super mainstream, so people just doing what everyone else is doing.
True. Okay. I figured you'd say something along the lines of like a Rob Banks saying, "Well, I don't get why people wear fur."
Okay, yeah,
But-
someone just commented and said fur. Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah, fur, leather. Yeah.
So we're definitely in good company. Hi to everybody tuning in, by the way. What is the song you hear most often?
I don't know. I'm a huge music person, so I'm constantly like filtering through playlists. But just to be like really cliche, I would probably say like the Animal Liberation song or something along those lines.
Okay, fair enough. I get it. What is the one food you would not want to give up?
Vegan ice cream.
I had some last night. Very good.
Nice.
If you could teleport, where would you go and why?
I've thought about this. I would definitely teleport to, this might sound strange, but slaughterhouses and farms, so that I could get in and get out.
Okay, good answer. What did you have for breakfast?
A smoothie.
Bonus question, made of?
Nick made it, so I'm not entirely sure, but berries, spinach, I think like almond milk and protein powder,
Okay,
something like that.
good. If Nick is around, say hello. We had a nice chat earlier today. Any pet peeves?
Animal exploitation, for sure. Eating
Without a
animals,
doubt.
using animals.
Yeah, kind of walked
Yeah.
into that one. What impresses you?
Animal activists.
I like it. That's why why you're here. Are you a dog or cat person?
To be a little speciesist, dog.
Okay. All right. I gotcha. What is better, being organized or having attention to detail?
I would say attention to detail.
Okay. Got it. When was the last time you took a rest?
I mean, with the whole COVID situation right now, I suppose, the past few weeks I've been taking some rest, but I think I'm a very go person. And if I don't have projects on the go, I kind of go crazy. So I don't know. I mean, I guess when I was sleeping last night, I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I'm really bad at taking
Fair enough.
breaks.
Me too. What's the first thing you think of in the morning?
Animals.
Really? It's that powerful, huh? Okay.
Yeah, and also like the night, I've noticed that since doing a lot of more like hardcore activism, like it's what I dream about. It's just constantly in my thoughts. So yeah, it doesn't leave me ever.
Okay. You learn of a last minute business trip. What's the first thing you do?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, what you just learned about a last minute business trip. What is the first thing you do?
Well, if I'm traveling like out of town or something, I'm probably going to go on Happy Cow and figure out where I can eat.
Okay.
So
good.
get some food.
All right. What challenges you, Amy?
What challenges me?
Yeah.
This is probably obvious, but I would say like the animal agriculture industry, non-vegans. I'm constantly challenged.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. Last question. When was the last time you were late for something?
I don't know. I hate being late for things. I get really anxious, so I'm
Me
always
too.
like early.
Me too. You're
Yeah.
definitely not late for this interview, so I do appreciate that. Anyway, Amy, we just kicked off this great interview. Hopefully, with a set of questions just to get have people to get to know you. So again, if you're now just tuning in, we are joined here live by Amy Soranno. She is a fellow vegan activist by way of Kelowna, British Columbia. She is joining us today on an episode of The Vegan Lives. Amy, once again, thank you so much for being here. So let's go ahead and get things started, shall we? I am a firm believer in aha moments. You know, that moment in which we realize, or at least come to the realization, that something is definitely for us. Now, having said that, when did you come to that realization that veganism is the way to go for you? And if you can, tell us a little bit about when that happened, and if you can actually share that anecdote with us.
Okay. So around 7 years ago, I came down with a cluster of rare and complex chronic illnesses, and the doctors in my city and then in my province and then country, they could not make sense of what was happening to me and why I was sick. They couldn't help me get better. So through my own research on how I can naturally heal myself, I came across plant-based diets and veganism. So I definitely came to a plant-based diet through health, but it was through that research and kind of digging deep into what is veganism and then animal agriculture and all the ways that we exploit animals. Within one weekend, I watched Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, and I started watching Earthlings, and immediately it was like, boom, I'm vegan for the animals, 100%. And that didn't, of course, just mean my diet. So, of course, I eliminated meat, dairy, and eggs and honey from my diet, but that also meant getting rid of leather shoes and belts and jackets and wool and products that are tested on animals. And it was a complete lifestyle change. But I did that very happily for the animals. And I think often when we discuss veganism and kind of like this aha moment and something that we strive for others to have that moment, we think of that as kind of the end goal. But for me, it hasn't really been that. That was kind of just the start. So ever since that day or that weekend, every single day since then, I have been researching and learning about how my life and my lifestyle impacts the earth and others around me, and all the different various ways that we exploit animals. Like, it's just so massive. And the industries that exploit animals for entertainment, for testing, for clothing, food, it's just so huge. So I would say that it's just been that wasn't really the end for me, that was just kind of the start.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense, and it actually makes even more sense to me, and I'll briefly explain why with my own account. I'm completely blown away by the fact that our stories, as I have just learned based on your anecdote, started the same way, in the sense that I too had a medical past, which admittedly, long story short, rendered me paralyzed from the neck down for 4 months. And so I had a very humbling, I had a very humbling medical episode in which, again, I was paralyzed from the neck down. I was a vegetable, no pun intended. And so through being an only child, and I was actually visiting my parents for a holiday, I had booked a flight to be here in Puerto Rico, which is where I'm originally from, by the way. Hi, guys. So I had booked a flight for 4 days, and in that window of 4 days, things just went completely downhill for me. And next thing you know, I was bedridden for 4 months, and nobody can figure out why. And it ended up being a neurological disorder, autoimmune disease, much like you. Mine was chronic as well. I had relapses every so often. And being an only child, you can imagine that your mom will go above and beyond to keep you safe, keep you healthy, and keep you on this planet. Because based on what I had learned back then, I was a statistic, and people had died from what I had. And so I too, and this is the reason why I'm sharing this quick clip here, I too went into veganism, or I should say a plant-based diet, as a result of health. But it wasn't until, I had that epiphany that, I cannot come home to a hamburger on my right hand and then pet one of my cats on my left. It's not there for me. And so I started doing a little bit of research as far as the ethical perspective of things. And, one thing leads to another. We started minimizing the amount of plant-based, or I'm sorry, of animal-based products, slowly swaying away from red meat, cutting back on poultry, minimizing the intake of salmon, which was our fish of preference back in the day. And so I slowly regained my strength and my movements, and I put two and two together. And you know how algorithms for social media are. Once you like a vegetarian post, which I was at the time, they start hounding you and like bombarding you with vegan posts, and that's when I clicked. And so I am 100% ethical vegan. I use it as a forefront for the justification, if we can even call it a thing, of veganism. And so I use it as a focal point. So I'm so happy that you chose to share that with us, because you know, we are already on the same page as how we got our start. So I do appreciate you sharing that story with us. So yeah,
thank you for sharing too. That's really, really intense, but I'm glad to hear that you're
it was by far the most humbling experience, but in a very morbid way, I'm actually happy I had it, because I would not be here sitting with you so gracefully today. So I do appreciate that. So let me ask you this, and before I do so, I see that some people are joining. If you have any questions for Amy, go ahead and shoot me in the comment section. Maybe she can actually read it and interrupt me as well, or just simply use the question mark cards allocated for you guys. So let me ask you this, Amy. Your speech on civil disobedience has been the most moving literature I've heard since Gary Yourofsky's viral video that woke many people up, admittedly. What emotions, if you can recall, prompted you to write such a captivating sentence, one after the other, and how would you describe the moments leading up to typing that last sentence?
Well, thank you, by the way, for saying that. Okay. There's been a huge evolution to my activism. And so I think for me, for many, many years, I've engaged in animal rights activism, and I called myself an animal rights activist. But admittedly, when I would look at the work that I was doing, I was not fighting for animal rights. I was fighting for people to go vegan or raising awareness, but when it came to the rights of animals, which they do not have right now, I wasn't fighting for that. And so I was feeling a lot of frustration with myself, and also like I didn't really know. I was spending so much time and energy on activism, but there was no way of gauging my effectiveness, or like what that was actually achieving, and was that actually helping the animals? Maybe a few people were going vegan here and there, but were the animals closer to gaining actual rights and autonomy? And I didn't think so. So I started doing a lot more research myself on how I can be a more effective advocate for animals. I started doing way more civil disobedience and direct action, and I started investigating. And as I became closer to the suffering and the death of animals, it was undeniable that I needed to level up, that I needed to do better, and that I could do better. And when we look at other past social justice movements and what they did in order to achieve change, and how people got their rights, how women got their rights, how Black people, gay people, how they achieved getting their own rights, it was through mass civil disobedience. It was through nonviolent direct action. And so I think that those same actions are necessary today for animals. And especially in Canada, I wasn't seeing that happening at all. There was a lot of vigils, there was a lot of street outreach and protests, a few disruptions here and there, but there was not a whole lot of mass civil disobedience happening. So I planned Canada's first mass lockdown action, Meet the Victims, and 200 of us went to a local piggery, and we locked down the inside and outside of that facility. And it was shortly after that that I realized that we need more activists on board. We need more people out there doing this sort of work for animals. And so I wrote that speech and I presented it in Toronto at the Animal Liberation Conference to a group of other vegans and activists. And I hoped that that inspired people and motivated people. to also take that radical direct action for animals, because I think that that's what they so desperately need right now.
Okay, no, it was very heartfelt. It was moving. I think I must have watched it 3 times on repeat after I actually saw it on. Yeah, it was very moving. And if for whatever reason you are a vegan or not a vegan, but somebody on the fence about actually taking part in activism, and after having listened to that, you weren't inclined to actually tip over and do it, I don't know what else can at this point. And so the reason why I worded my question the way I did is because this community is very emotional. This community has a lot of deep-rooted ties emotionally to what we do, the actions that we take on a daily basis. And so I just wanted to sort of get the vibe that you were feeling while you were, on your computer. Like, if you could share that with me, like from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah. You're right. It is so emotional, and I felt emotional ever since the day that I went vegan. But being so up close and personal with those animals, doing investigations, seeing them meet the victims, you have this like fire inside of you, like something changes and you need to do something. And it's like this immense heartbreak and sadness. And it's just so overwhelming and consuming that you can't not do something. You can't not take action. And so I guess a lot of the motivating emotions were like sadness and frustration. But also, I mean, humans caused this problem, but we can also fix it. So it's also a lot of hope. I believe in the goodness of people as much as I see the horrific things that they do on a daily basis to each other and to animals and to this earth. We can do better. And I do believe that people are good, that people don't want to see animals suffering. And if they only knew what were happening. And I think that's the same with even activists. Like, we know the facts. We have seen some of the footage, but when you're up close and personal with those animals, something is different. And I just believe that if activists just put themselves there, just allowed themselves to be heartbroken and to feel that, and to like feel what those animals are going through, that something would shift within our activism movement. And I don't know, I guess frustration, sadness, heartbreak, and hope for the future. I just really, really wanted to inspire people and motivate people to take action.
I think
I'm glad to hear that it was motivating for you, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. It goes without saying. I think that you did in fact inspire a lot of people, and as I can probably, and I'm actively listening and watching you, a lot of people are in fact inspired by your actions, and I think that you doing what you're doing on an everyday basis is and has been, is, and will forever continue to inspire some other people. So I think that all the adjectives that you just used to describe that can be summed up as grief. You feel grief, and grief sometimes is a very powerful motivator to take action and do something about the way, because it's a powerful emotion. And I think that everybody here in this community has in fact felt grief to a certain degree, whether or not you're actually an activist or not. So I do appreciate you sharing with that. So let me go ahead and dive in. I see the questions are starting to pour in.
Okay, I see people typing, but I haven't had a chance to like actually read.
Yeah, it's okay. If we can get a little bit more organized, guys, and shoot me your questions privately so I can DM them, or I should say read them out loud. So we have Inez asks, what's the best way to educate people on veganism?
Okay. Well, it's interesting because I have shifted my activism from less like one-on-one conversational type, like getting people to go vegan type activism, to more system change, changing the laws and the policies and attacking our legal and political system around animals. So I would really encourage activists, if you're kind of in the position where it's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, I don't really know how to be most effective, and you have options and you're able to try different things, I would suggest going for the system. I would really suggest like lobbying our government and if you're able to take direct action, if you're able to conduct civil disobedience, really looking at that sort of thing. If all you can do, if all you're able or capable of doing right now is educating people, social media is a massive, massive tool. Utilize that. Utilize the algorithm to the animal's benefit. You can do street outreach and do tables. I go to universities and schools and I give talks and speeches and workshops on activism and animal rights. I think that's highly effective when we look at the younger generations and the people who are interested in learning. Those are the people to talk to right now. Those are the change makers of the future. So I think it's really important to go and give speeches at schools. And I don't know. I guess that's it. I think I answered the question.
Let me know if I understand you correctly. You think that the biggest giant that we are facing right now is every country's government and stranglehold on the agricultural industries, namely the meat, eggs, and dairy, and you see that as the focal point of our fight on an everyday basis?
It's a conversation I've been having a lot lately, and I actually just made a big post about this on Facebook about should we be tackling individuals, like their consumer choices, getting people to go vegan, or should we tackle the system? And can system change come without social change, or vice versa? Do we need social change before system change? This is a huge debate and conversation. It's probably a whole other live stream in itself, but I don't know. I've been really looking at, again, what other social justice movements did to achieve change, and it wasn't social change first. They went for the system. And I think if we look at an example that I use often, environmental activists. I never see environmental activists on the street asking individual people to go zero waste, or to sell their car and to go buy an electric car, or to, ditch plastic. I never see people asking individuals one-on-one, this is what you need to do to help our environment. I see people in mass groups outside of City Hall or outside of the government calling for serious legal change or system change that will help our environment. And they accept everyone from all walks of life. And I think that that's something that we should probably look at in the animal rights movement. And it's interesting, they're able to, the environmental activists, I know it's a whole different topic than animal rights, but they're able to mobilize mass groups of people to get serious about change. And I think that we need to follow suit and see what we can do in order to get mass groups of people, because right now a huge problem in the activism movement for animals is that we don't have the numbers. I think I heard you say in a previous live stream that, even to get people up to a cube sometimes for you, it's where are the activists? Where are they? It's so hard to get people to come out and do stuff. But maybe that's a sign that we're not winning. People want to be part of the winning team. And if we're not seeing that our actions are having serious changes, and that we can see, hey, I did this, this action, or we did this massive campaign, globally or nationally, and this is what it achieved, people want to jump on board and say, you know what? Those people are making moves. They're winning. I want to be a part of that team. But I think right now, so much of our activism is planting seeds and having conversations. And from there, we just hope that something happens, that they go home and that they go vegan, and that they become an activist, and that, it's a ripple effect. But one, that's very slow change. Two, there's no way of measuring that. We don't actually know what happens when those people go home. Even if we have an amazing conversation with someone, they could walk away. That could all be false. We don't know that person. They could walk away and be like, okay, that was weird and uncomfortable. I don't want to have any part of veganism, we really don't know. Again, everything that I'm saying, these are my opinions, and these are just
and that's exactly
from my experiences.
Yeah, that's exactly why you're here. I just wanted to do these interviews to sort of pick your brain and just engage my fellow activists, see how they think, see how they approach veganism, and I'm loving these answers so far. By the way.